We take the road to Mallaig, known as the Road to the Isles. We make a short stop in Glenfinnan. There is a good steep path to the viewpoint of the Glenfinnan viaduct, which carries the railway line over the valley. It is almost a quarter of a mile long, and with its central arches of over 100 feet, it is one of the engineering triumphs of this spectacular line. It was built by Robert McAlpine. It was built out of concrete. It has 21 arches stretching almost a quarter of a mile across the Finnan Valley. The speed limit just 25 miles per hour. Loch is a long, narrow freshwater loch of some 18 miles in length. At the head of Loch stands the Glenfinnan Monument, erected in 1815 in tribute to those who fought and died for the Jacobite cause. The figure atop the monument is not the prince, as is often supposed, but simply a Highlander. The white sands of Morar are lovely to see on a good day. I'm afraid today is not bright enough. As I said, these are the white sands of Morar, not Loch Morar. We shall hear about Loch Morar later. From each of us, we always give them one, because it's so good.
I mean, he's so good.
It's good.
He deserves a star.
It certainly does. Mallaig, superbly situated looking across to the Isle of Skye. Not beautiful in itself, but full of character. It has a busy harbour into which boats bring fish, and its streets are packed with cars during the summer months. You can board the ferry for Skye and the small isles of Egg, Muck, Rum and Canna. Apart from the village of Morar and a few small hamlets, the western end of the loch, the rest of Loch Morar's long shoreline is uninhabited and inaccessible in most places apart from by boat. Of course, the village is bypassed because of the new road. In the early 1980s, George and I were on a coach tour of this area. We stayed 3 nights at the Loch Morar Hotel. We had a free day, so our coach driver arranged a boat trip on Loch Morar. So after lunch, 12 of us walked to the jetty. We climbed aboard the small boat and took a seat around the side so as to get a good view. As we started the trip, the boatman told us a little bit of history about Loch Morar. About an hour or so later, in about the middle of the loch, the boatman told everyone that we had arrived at the deepest part of the loch, 1,016 feet. The passengers were all admiring the fine views of the mountains and enjoying the peaceful atmosphere when it happened. The boat engine started to sputter, then miss a beat, and finally gave up altogether. There we all were in a small boat miles from help. There were no other boats to be seen, no mobile phones, and only one life jacket. It was so quiet and eerie and very scary. The boatman tried to start the engine, but failed. No one spoke. My knees were knocking. One lady was crying. 2 elderly ladies passed round their fruit gums. As I said earlier, There's no road around Loch Morar. But after quite a while, in the distance we saw two people walking along the hillside. We shouted and waved. They paused a while and turned back. It would be a long walk back to the village to get help. We sat in the middle of that loch for ages. Then the wind rose and it started to drizzle, which made it even worse. Then someone suggested to take some of the deck boards up to make oars to row to the shore. Having 3 people on each side of the boat, we finally reached land. What a relief. We sheltered behind a ruined building for a while. Then in the distance we could hear the sound of a speedboat with 2 men in it. But they had to go across the loch, walk a mile and walk a mile back to get the keys for the big boat. So we eventually got back to the hotel about 8 o'clock at night. The police were waiting to escort us to the hotel. We called ourselves the boat people. I think that boatman would be in big trouble. Actually, he was just a gilly, probably trying to make a bit of money on the side. That was maybe about 35 years ago. They wouldn't be allowed to do that now, what with all the health and safety rules. So we were lucky we didn't drown.